When a U.S. senator stares across the hearing room and accuses the FBI director of running an enemies list, you know the atmosphere is about to ignite. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse didn't hesitate. He alleged that out of roughly 60 names, nearly 20 had already faced adverse actions within just 7 months of Patel taking the helm. The math was simple, the accusation even simpler. At this pace, the entire list could be checked off in little more than a year. That was not just an observation, it was an accusation that the FBI was acting more like a political hit squad than an impartial institution of justice.
You've got 14 months until you've hit all 60. Can you explain that?
Again, that is an entirely inaccurate presupposition. I do not have an enemies list. You can continue to characterize it as you wish. The only actions we take, generally speaking, for personnel at the FBI are ones based on merit and qualification and your ability to uphold your constitutional duty. You fall short, you don't work there anymore.
Well, there was a list. You don't like it to be called an enemies list, and it had about 60 names, and about 20 have had an adverse action. So those are, I think, pretty clear facts. Let me move on to your grand jury testimony, which we also talked about when you were here. I think you indicated that you understood that a witness in the grand jury is free to discuss afterwards whatever they told the grand jury. And you then went on to suggest, saying, I can't go into court orders granted by the D.C. District Chief Judge, and you want me to violate a court order. In those remarks, you fairly plainly suggested that there was a court order of some kind that somehow restricted or limited your ability to discuss your own testimony to that grand jury. Since then, that chief judge that you mentioned, Judge Boasberg, has written, and I'm quoting him here, Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 6E allows witnesses like Patel to divulge the contents of their testimony, meaning that nothing was preventing him from doing so before the committee. Can we confirm here today that there is no court order of any kind that limits your ability as a witness before the grand jury to discuss your own testimony to that grand jury?
We can confirm that pursuant to my action that that grand jury testimony has been released, the transcript.
Let's, in what forum was it released, may I ask?
Publicly.
Okay, we'll check on that. The FBI does background investigations. In the case of a U.S. attorney, Jeanine Pirro, it has come to light that in a civil proceeding, that Fox News executives, prior to her confirmation, called her, I'm quoting here, a reckless maniac who makes, quote, insane comments, and said, I don't trust her to be responsible, and noted her penchant for what they called random conspiracy theories on weird internet sites. My question to you is, did that turn up in her background investigation?
For any background investigation, Senator, we do not discuss those publicly. And for every background investigation, when there's an adjudication, it is not made by me. It is made by the career professionals who run the inspection division and background check system.
Do you know if that information was found? You see, we're an oversight body here, and there are really three possibilities here. One is that the FBI background investigation didn't find that stuff. That's worth noting because these investigations, full field background investigations, are supposed to find that stuff. That's possibility one. Possibility two is that the FBI did in fact find that information and then did not report it to the administration or to the committee. And the third is that you found it, you reported it to the administration, and they went ahead with her nomination knowing that she had been described as a reckless maniac who made insane comments, who wasn't trusted by colleagues to be responsible, and who had a penchant for random conspiracy theories on weird internet sites. Are you saying that this committee does not have any authority or reason to look into which of those things is true?
This committee can look into anything it wishes. I'm telling you that the background investigations that are done by the HRD division are done by career individuals. They do not report the details of those to me. They adjudicate those independently and individually. That's how it's always been done.
What happened during the pause of FBI background investigations that was alleged in the complaint against you and the FBI by the FBI agents who were terminated? On February 12th, Emil Bovee directed the FBI, quote, to pause any FBI background investigations of Trump nominees until Patel was confirmed, which happened on February 20th, is the general description of what they alleged. Why, do you know, were background investigations paused? Was it so material like this could be scrubbed out of them? And have they been resumed without that pause fully and normally after your arrival on February 20th?
I can speak to the time period since I got there. Background investigations have been ongoing across the board at the FBI.
Why was the pause, do you know?
I was not there.
Wasn't explained to you when you got there? Oh, by the way, boss, they've had an 8-day pause on background investigations. You think that would be something that would be explained to you at some point?
Again, I leave it to the men and women at HRD division to run background investigations. I do not interfere with them.
I get that. But what I don't get is whether you were told about that pause, and why would you not be told about that pause?
I don't recall that, sir.
All right. The allegation also relates that part of the employee review of senior staff was whether or not they voted for Kamala Harris in the 2024 election. Since when is who you voted for a proper question for agents to be asked?
I don't know what allegation you're referring to, Senator. If it's from an ongoing matter in litigation, I can't discuss that. But what I can discuss is I can only speak to the FBI's background investigations. There are other background investigations conducted across the government. I can only speak to mine.
So just to clarify, I'm not talking about the FBI full field background investigations. I'm talking about internal employee reviews for promotion, for termination, for job actions of various kinds. And my question to you is it now the policy of the FBI to ask agents who they voted for, and since when is who agents voted for a proper question for the FBI to ask?
Taking those in reverse order, it's not a proper question, and it's improper to allege that I'm doing that. And also at the FBI specifically, under my leadership, we do not ask who you voted for. And just one correction for the record, if I may, Senator, it's Security Division that runs background investigations, not HRD.
Okay, I'll accept that correction. And in the event that we cannot locate your grand jury transcript, just expect a question for the record that will give you the chance to either provide that transcript again if it had been previously provided, or to make the statement that Grand Jury Rule 6E allows you, to the best of your recollection, truthfully, about what it is that you told that grand jury. Do you understand that?
That's why I wanted the transcript released, and we'll get it to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman.
Patel's response came quickly, almost dismissively. He denied the premise outright. There is no list, he insisted. No vendetta. No secret scorecard targeting individuals. According to him, every decision made under his watch was tied to performance, merit, and the duty to uphold the Constitution. If an employee fell short of that standard, they were gone. That, Patel argued, was the only metric. Yet Whitehouse refused to let go. He pushed back, armed with numbers and timelines that painted a troubling picture. Whether Patel admitted it or not, the pattern looked systematic. For those watching, the clash was electric, two public officials digging trenches in real time. But Whitehouse wasn't finished. He shifted the spotlight from lists and personnel actions to something even thornier: Patel's testimony before a federal grand jury. Whitehouse recalled Patel suggesting in prior testimony that he couldn't discuss what he told the jury because of a court order. That statement seemed authoritative, even intimidating. Who would argue against a judge's order? Yet this pivot revealed a crack in Patel's narrative, and Whitehouse seized it. Because after Patel's earlier remarks, Chief Judge Boasberg issued a clarification. Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 6E, the judge explained, makes one thing clear: witnesses can always discuss their own testimony. No one could prevent Patel from speaking about what he said. There was no order restricting him, no gag from the court. The senator, armed with that ruling, pressed the point. The revelation didn't just undermine Patel's prior claim, it raised an uncomfortable question. Why did Patel suggest his words were bound when in reality they were not? Now the technical answer may be simple. Patel chose careful phrasing, leaning on legalistic language to deflect. He didn't lie outright, he didn't break a rule, but politics is never just about technicalities. When an official frames their situation as though they are muzzled only to later be exposed as free to speak, the damage isn't legal, it's reputational. For viewers at home, the impression was clear: Patel was dodging, and in Washington, dodging can often look worse than telling a hard truth. This moment reveals the true theater of oversight hearings. They are not simply about unearthing new facts, they are about forcing officials into uncomfortable corners, testing whether they'll hold up under scrutiny, and showing the public who bends and who stands firm. In this case, Whitehouse played his role with precision, highlighting numbers that suggested retaliation and exposing contradictions about transparency. Patel, for his part, clung to procedure and denial. The audience saw not just a clash of personalities but a test of credibility. And credibility is fragile. For an FBI director, it is currency. Lose it and the agency's legitimacy falters. Think about it: if there really is an enemies list, then we're looking at one of the most dangerous abuses of federal power in modern history. But if the list doesn't exist and this is simply a political attack, then Whitehouse has leveraged fear and suspicion to score points at the expense of public trust. Either way, the institution suffers. Either way, Americans walk away wondering whether the people sworn to protect the Constitution are using it as a shield or a weapon. That's the power of perception. Oversight hearings rarely end in decisive victories, but they shape narratives. They determine whether viewers at home feel reassured or unsettled. In this case, the takeaway wasn't a neat resolution. It was tension, contradiction, and the lingering sense that not everything added up. And in politics, not everything adding up is often more damaging than any proven scandal. Because transparency isn't just about following the rules, it's about choosing clarity when ambiguity is easier. Patel had every right to explain his testimony openly. He didn't. He had every opportunity to erase doubts about retaliation. He didn't. And when officials fail to seize those chances, they create openings for their critics to define the story for them. Whitehouse did just that. Zoom out and this clash becomes a case study. How do institutions maintain trust when their leaders are accused of secrecy and retaliation? How do politicians leverage numbers and legal rulings to press their case? And how do citizens separate fact from framing in a political culture built on half-answers and clipped soundbites? These are the deeper questions hearings like this one stir up. And they matter because public trust is already brittle. When viewers see a senator outline a potential purge inside the FBI and a director respond with what sounds like technical evasion, confidence weakens further. Once trust is gone, oversight hearings can't restore it. They become theater without impact. They become noise without consequence. But here's the critical insight: hearings like this aren't just about today's fight. They lay the groundwork for tomorrow's headlines. They build momentum for future investigations, for broader narratives about accountability or corruption. Whether Patel is vindicated or Whitehouse is proven exaggerated, the exchange plants seeds of doubt that will grow in the public's imagination. That's why this moment isn't trivial. It's a reminder that power isn't only exercised in what officials do, it's exercised in what they say, how they say it, and whether they allow clarity or choose shadows. So when you see the headlines about alleged enemies lists and contradictory testimony, don't stop at the headline. Look deeper. Ask why a senator framed the numbers that way. Ask why a director leaned on ambiguous language instead of openness. Ask who benefits from the uncertainty. Because the truth isn't always found in the testimony itself. Often it's found in the gaps, in the pauses, in the words left unsaid. And that's the lesson. In Washington, silence speaks as loudly as confession. If you want to keep following these explosive moments in Congress where reputations hang on a single exchange and public trust is tested in real time, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay tuned. Because this isn't just political theater. It's about accountability, transparency, and the constant struggle over how power is used in America.